Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says India has the right to defend itself from terrorism, as no one can dictate how it exercises its defence. Cabinet Secretary along with other departmental secretaries highlight the success of PM Modi's IT-enabled governance initiative Pragati, saying its biggest beneficiary has been the roads and highways sector. Donald Trump says United States is locked and loaded to respond if Iran kills protesters, prompting Tehran to warn that US intervention would destabilize the region. And 7 people are killed as Saudi coalition strikes separatist fighters in Yemen. Separatists say fighting existential war against Saudi-backed forces. Cabinet Secretary and other departmental secretaries have briefed the media in New Delhi on Friday on the outcomes of the Pragati mechanism, which is proactive governance and timely implementation platform which is led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Speaking about the objectives of Pragati, Cabinet Secretary T. Somanathan highlighted the structured project and issue escalation mechanism under the platform-led ecosystem, which enables systematic monitoring and resolution of issues across multiple levels and state governments.
The objective of Pragati is to improve center-center and center-state coordination in order to, firstly, fast-track critical infrastructure projects which face issues and bottlenecks. Secondly, improve the outcomes in flagship schemes which may be showing optimal, suboptimal performance or which might require structural reforms. And thirdly, assess and resolve important categories of citizen grievances across various sectors of the government.
The Cabinet Secretary also informed that Prime Minister chairs Pragati review meetings directly with Chief Secretaries of States and Secretaries of Central Ministries. 50 such review meetings have been held so far.
At the apex of the Pragati system, the Prime Minister personally chairs Pragati review meetings. In these meetings, he deals directly with Chief Secretaries of all the states and the Secretaries of all central departments and ministries who come together at these reviews to address issues in specific projects or schemes. 50 such review meetings have been held so far, and the 50th was held day before yesterday, which is why we are here to brief you today.
And the Cabinet Secretary also informed that 3,300 projects of over 85 lakh crore rupees in value have been reviewed over the last 10 years. 61 government schemes have also been reviewed as part of this process.
The portfolio of projects that the Pragati system has handled, so it has accelerated implementation of both projects and welfare schemes. It's not confined to projects. It covers programs, schemes also. But in terms of projects, it has so far covered over 3,300 projects worth 85 lakh crores. This includes both projects which had a problem and projects which did not have a problem. 61 government schemes other than projects have also been reviewed in Pragati. They include schemes such as the One Nation, One Ration Card, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the PM Swanidhi Yojana, and the Swachh Bharat Mission. These are just examples of the 61 that have been covered.
So essentially, the Indian government has showcased its IT-enabled governance platform, and to talk about it, we have with us Deepshikha Sikarwar, Senior Editor, Economic Times. Deepshikha, good evening. When Pragati was announced in 2015, a little over 10 years ago, did you ever think that it would be as effective as the government claims it to be in terms of really impacting projects that were stuck for decades even, to ensure that they will deliver for the people in this manner?
Absolutely, Gautam. You know what stunning performance actually, if you look at. And marquee projects, and a presentation was given out on the Baramulla rail link and also the Navi Mumbai airport. Now, had it not been for Pragati, the Navi Mumbai airport would have been the business as usual pace. It would have been ready only by 2049. Similarly, the Baramulla link also, only 40% of the work was done in the 20 years before Pragati. The rest, 60% has been done after that, 2015. So we can see the difference that it has made. And like the cabinet secretary mentioned, the meeting is chaired by the prime minister himself. And I think that itself sort of ensures that people come not with issues in the meeting but with solutions. That ensures that the projects which have been stuck for various reasons, or some knotty issue which has been there, those issues are ironed out before the meeting is taken by the prime minister. So I think that has made tangible difference, definitely.
Mhm. And the fact that not just information technology, but GIS, geospatial technology, has also been used. Data has been effectively used as well. So, do you feel that this becomes an overall showcase for the Indian government, not just for people within the country, especially for state governments which are yet to adopt this sort of a scheme, because it essentially came from Gujarat when the PM was CM there, but also for other nations across the world?
Absolutely, and I think apart from the Pragati, there is PM Gati Shakti, where projects, there's integration of projects, so that there is no cutting across. There's coherence in the way the projects are designed and the way they are executed, and there's constant monitoring. There's a dashboard to monitor implementation. That is something that's a key takeaway, and the way resolution has been brought about in issues within Pragati itself, wherein you have central government, you have state governments, because ultimately the projects are getting implemented in the states. So definitely a template for many nations to follow, and many nations have sort of inquired about it, which is being mentioned about PM Gati Shakti as well as a platform. So definitely something which can be adopted by other countries and also states within our country. And some states, I think, are keen on adopting this model, taking it forward, because if you have to ensure last mile delivery, you have to have all actors on the board uh, adopting and ensuring that any decision or any project or any scheme which has to be implemented, all the actors are on board and in unison.
Mhm. And the days of red tapeism, as they were called, and of deflecting or saying that, let's set up a committee and look into this matter to iron out issues, all those things became a thing of the past.
Yes, I don't think any person, and especially with the project sort of being viewed on her dashboard, will not want a red mark, or will not want, it's showing that the file is stuck with him or the issue is stuck with him. I think this ensures that people are proactively, people involved, all the actors involved in execution of a scheme or a project, they actively take interest in his execution and implementation. You don't just sort of push files just to say that, okay, it can't be done, or just delay it for no rhyme or reason. You have to provide solutions to the problems that you may be raising, or have discussions on that, because it's just right there on the screen for everyone to see as to where it is stuck.
Mhm. And the flip side, the argument has been that there used to be issues with forest clearances or land acquisition, and some of these consultations which were essential I think questions were raised today about that as well. But do you feel that that is something that has been taken as part and parcel of the process?
Yes, I think, see, environmental clearances, forest clearances, large infrastructure projects, there will always be issues. Even for that matter, small, projects. Maybe there is a touch point with a forest, or there is some issue, some touch point with environment in some place. But what this platform, what this mechanism is doing is it's putting all issues on the table. The idea is to find resolution. Idea is to find solutions to problems. We know there is a problem. India is a large country. It needs development. It needs infrastructure. We also need to be conscious of the environment. We also need to be conscious of forests. So, where do you find a balance? You will find a balance and you will find resolution only when you put all issues, one puts their heads to it, and solutions can be found. So, and solutions have been found. So, I think the whole idea of the platform is to strike a balance and find solutions with that balance.
And the numbers itself speak their own story. 85 lakh rupees value projects, 3,300 in number, and so many other schemes as well. But what has not been perhaps quantified is the money saved, because time overrun is cost overrun. There's also room for leakages when things drag on and on. Corruption is also served, and other base interests are served. All that must have led to saving of a lot of taxpayers' money as well.
Absolutely. I mean, those numbers are not available, but definitely any project delayed and overruns, it costs taxpayers. It costs all of us who are, who are paying taxes, to the exchequer. So, I mean, I gave the example of, say, Navi Mumbai. Had that project been implemented in 2049, look at the kind of cost it would have incurred. And not just the cost, the absence of that airport, the absence of that facility, which would have impacted citizens' life. A lot of times Prime Minister has said we have to provide ease of doing business and ease of living. So both ease of doing business and ease of living for people in that region, that is also a cost, I think, which when a project gets delays, that probably needs to be taken into account. So if projects are getting implemented on time, the execution has been hastened, it not just saves that cost which taxpayers have to bear otherwise, but also the facility is available, which eases your life.
Certainly. Yes, improvement of lives and livelihoods is perhaps the biggest factor and the most impactful feature of what Pragati has achieved. And there, of course, we wish it more success. There's room for expansion as well, which has been talked about by Prime Minister Modi himself at the 50th meeting, and let's see which way that goes. It'll perhaps give us another opportunity, Deepshika, to talk about it. Thanks a lot for joining us for the time being. Thank you. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky named spy chief Kirill Budanov as new head of his office. The South Korean court issues fresh arrest warrant for ex-president Yoon Suk Yeol. And 2025 was the United Kingdom's hottest and sunniest year on record.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls' pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Now let's tell you what's happening in Yemen. Well, tensions between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have flared once again. A Saudi-led coalition has carried out airstrikes against UAE-backed separatists, underscoring the deepening rift between the Gulf allies. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us this report.
Saudi warplanes struck a military camp belonging to the Southern Transitional Council in Hadramaut province on Friday. Local officials reported 7 separate airstrikes on the Al-Qasha camp, leaving 7 fighters dead and more than 20 wounded. The strikes targeted separatist forces that have seized large areas of the territory in southern Yemen, challenging the authority of the internationally recognized government.
We announced to the public that what is taking place today comes within the framework of an organized operation with limited objective and a clearly defined course, dubbed the camp's handover operation. It is an operation of positioning aimed at the peaceful and orderly transfer of control of military sites, directed exclusively at camps and military positions.
Despite assurances of a peaceful handover, the strikes mark a sharp escalation in Yemen's conflict. Saudi Arabia has urged the Southern Transitional Council to withdraw from government offices and military sites it recently seized. In Aden, the country's main international airport was shut down, halting flights and disrupting travel across regions outside Houthi control. Adding to the tensions, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to Yemen revealed that STC leader Aidarus al-Zubaydi refused landing permission for a Saudi delegation's plane in Aden. The ambassador Mohammed al-Zubaydi ordered the closure of air traffic at Aden airport, effectively grounding flights on Thursday. Meanwhile, Yemen's transport ministry rejected new Saudi-imposed flight restrictions, calling a requirement for planes to stop in Saudi Arabia for security inspections an air blockade that undermines national sovereignty. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
Actress and humanitarian Angelina Jolie visited Egypt's Rafah border, crossing with Gaza on Friday, along with a local hospital in Arish, where Palestinian patients evacuated from Gaza are receiving treatment. Her visit comes amid uncertainty over the second phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire reached in October after 2 years of fighting. US President Donald Trump earlier on Monday said he wanted to move to the second phase of the ceasefire deal in the enclave. However, progress remains stalled, with Israel and the Hamas accusing each other of major violations of the deal. The Hamas has refused to disarm and is reasserting control in parts of Gaza, while Israeli forces remain entrenched across much of the territory. Israel has warned it will resume military action if the Hamas is not disarmed. Ukraine has made a major leadership change at a critical point in its conflict with Russia, as President Volodymyr Zelensky has appointed military intelligence chief Kirilo Budanov as his new chief of staff. This comes amid Russian claims of recovering evidence of an attack targeting a compound linked to President Vladimir Putin, which Moscow says it will share with the United States. Rupa Kumar Jha has this report.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has nominated military intelligence chief Kirilo Budanov as the new presidential chief of staff, following the resignation of his top aide Andrei Yermak amid a corruption scandal. Budanov, credited with several high-profile intelligence operations against Russia during the ongoing conflict, takes on the role at a decisive moment as Zelensky says a US-brokered peace deal is nearly complete, but security and territorial issues remain unresolved. The leadership change comes as Russia and Ukraine trade accusations of targeting civilians over the new year. Moscow claims Ukrainian drones struck a hotel and cafe in Russian-held Kherson, killing civilians, while Kyiv insists it only targets military sites and accuses Russia of disinformation. Moscow has also accused Ukraine of attempting a direct strike on a Russian presidential residence, claiming it recovered and decoded data from a downed Ukrainian drone showing it was targeting a compound linked to President Vladimir Putin. Russia also said that it will share the alleged evidence with the United States, a claim disputed by Ukraine and Western officials who say there is no proof Kyiv targeted the Russian leader. Ukraine says Russia has continued large-scale drone and missile attacks, damaging energy infrastructure across multiple regions, while Moscow argues Kyiv is attempting to derail peace efforts through alleged attacks on civilians and symbolic targets. As diplomatic pressure builds and talks overseen by US President Donald Trump intensify, the nearly 4-year-long conflict shows no immediate signs of easing, even as both sides publicly express readiness for negotiations. Rupak Kumar Jha's report for DD India.
Now let's get you an update from the Swiss fire tragedy, as Swiss prosecutors have said on Friday that early investigations indicate the fire at a ski resort bar started when fountain candles attached to champagne bottles were lifted too close to the ceiling. Prosecutor Beatrice Pilaud said the fire appeared to have started from burning candles or lights attached to champagne bottles that got too close to the ceiling. Authorities said on Friday that 113 of 119 people injured in a fire that killed 40 people at the Swiss bar filled with New Year revelers had been identified, including numerous foreign nationals.
Some of our hypotheses have now been confirmed. Indeed, everything suggests that the fire started from the burning candles or sparkles that had been placed on the champagne bottles, which were held too close to the ceiling.
A grisly reminder of the kind of tragedy that took place closer to home in Goa just a few weeks back. Similar reasons for the fire. Now, shifting focus to Asia Pacific, India's immediate neighborhood is witnessing growing instability with fresh concerns over attacks on minority communities in Bangladesh. The latest incident involves a Hindu businessman who was brutally assaulted and set on fire in Sharitpur district, triggering outrage and concern among rights groups. This comes amid heightened political activity ahead of elections, even as questions are being raised over the safety of minorities and the government's response. Here's a detailed report.
Situation in India's immediate neighbor is volatile, with attacks on minorities continuing. The latest of a Hindu businessman being brutally attacked, stabbed and set on fire in Shariatpur district, raising fresh concerns over violence against minority communities. The incident took place on Wednesday night. 50-year-old Khokon Chandra Das was returning home in an auto rickshaw when he was stopped by a group of assailants. The attackers assaulted him with sharp weapons, robbed him of cash, poured a flammable liquid on him and set him on fire. Injured, the victim jumped into a nearby pond to save himself. Local residents rescued him and took him to hospital before he was referred to a hospital in Dhaka due to critical injuries. The incident follows reports of other recent violent attacks involving members of the minority community, raising concerns among rights groups and local observers.
Of course, that Hindus are getting attacked, we as India should take note of, and we should take action as appropriate. India has to use diplomacy. India cannot send the army. India cannot have more trade embargo. That will not solve the problem.
Meanwhile, turning to the electoral battlefield emerging in Bangladesh, the once banned Bangladeshi Islamist party said it is open to joining a unity government.
We want to see a stable nation, at least for 5 years. If the parties come together, that we'll run the government together. But we have given 3 conditions to every party.
However, concerns regarding the safety of minorities in Bangladesh have been expressed, and the Indian-American Congressman Suhas Subramaniam said that Hindus and other minority communities are facing targeted violence and that the government in Dhaka has not done enough to protect them. In an interview to a news agency, Subramaniam said multiple incidents of Hindus specifically being attacked reported recently in Bangladesh. Expressing concern over the recent situation, Subramaniam said Washington would need to assess how Dhaka intends to respond. The recent attacks on minorities in Bangladesh will definitely have a bearing on the holding of free and fair polls. With inputs, Naval Sangh Parmar's report for DD India from Dhaka.
A South Korean court issued a fresh arrest warrant for ex-President Yoon Suk Yeol on Friday, extending the former leader's detention while facing charges linked to his 2024 attempt to impose martial law. Prosecutors indicted Yoon in November on several charges of aiding the enemy, alleging that he ordered drone flights over North Korea to strengthen his efforts to declare military rule. The arrest warrant for that case was set to expire on the 18th of this month, but Friday's order extends it by a maximum of 6 months. Yoon has been in custody for months while several criminal trials take place. He briefly suspended civilian rule in South Korea on the 3rd of December in 2024, prompting massive protests and a showdown in parliament. He was officially removed from office in April last year. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. Britain has recorded its hottest and sunniest year on record in 2025, breaking the previous high set in 2022. The UK's Met Office said the average annual temperature reached 10.09 degrees Celsius, crossing the 10-degree mark for only the second time since records began in 1884. Heavy snowfall has disrupted life across eastern Turkey, forcing the closure of roads to hundreds of villages and rural areas. 625 village roads were shut in Van province, 368 in Muş, 298 in Tunceli, with many more closures reported in neighbouring regions. Authorities are working to clear the snow as severe winter conditions continue to grip the area. Landmarks across Syracuse in central New York State were blanketed in white after a storm dumped heavy lake-effect snow in the region. The National Weather Service says lake-effect snow showers are expected to continue through Saturday, particularly in areas downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario, as winter conditions tighten their grip. And dense fog and poor visibility forced 9 flights to divert from Dhaka's Hazrat Shahjalal International Airport on Friday. Airport authorities said 4 flights were diverted to Chattogram, 4 to Kolkata and 1 to Bangkok, with normal operations resuming once weather conditions improved. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll be speaking with our expert guest about the fresh wave of protests engulfing Iran and the geopolitical uncertainties it has triggered. India's first bullet train is to be launched on the 15th of August 2027 between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. And the Indian government has approved 22 proposals under the Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme.
From monsoons to winters, seasons have now become unpredictable. So today let's meet people who, despite the challenges of change, are working towards a better future.
I started working in waste management and focused on reducing polythene use to protect the environment.
Within 6 months, all the other plants turned into manure, but this one plant was still blooming. So that was a big motivation for me to start Only Adenium.
If we can continue this initiative, we hope by 2050 to see a green belt along the entire coastline.
When you're surrounded by asphalt, concrete, glass, and these run-of-the-mill buildings that are becoming more and more alike, then of course people will want to create a more natural, more livable niche here and there.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Gautam Roy. Now, Iran is in the grip of another nationwide unrest, said to be the worst since the 2022 protests, which broke out following the death in custody of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini over alleged improper coverage of her head. Donald Trump has warned of stepping in if the protesters are harmed, prompting Tehran to issue its own ultimatums. A tenuous situation is developing. And to talk about it, we have with us D.P. Srivastava, former Indian ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Good evening to you, Ambassador. What do you make of the situation in Iran? It the Arab Spring was there. We had the Masa Amini protests as well. This time around, the trigger is different. It's for economic reasons. But do you think there's a lot of pent-up anger there which is spilling out to the streets day after day?
I think, well, thank you for having me on your program. We have to look at Iran's situation in the regional context. It's not a standalone situation. And you have to go back to events of October 2023 and what happened thereafter. Iran was attacked, and it was attacked just at the time when it had resumed negotiations with America on its nuclear program. Now, this was followed by reimposition of sanctions under old nuclear deal signed in 2015, went into effect in 2016. It was America which walked out of the nuclear deal in 2018, and Europe never implemented its part of the obligations. So you have a situation where external sanctions on an oil exporting country has throttled its economy. And there must maybe also internal mismanagement issues. But, if you remove the main source of income, there's not much left to manage. So Iranian currency has collapsed. There has been runaway inflation. There are estimates it's about 50%. Currency, it had dropped its value by 70%. And that has brought people on the streets. Now, the danger in this situation is that if this continues and there's talk of war, President Trump has said that in case Iran does not stop its ballistic missile program, there may be an attack. He added that in case of it continues with the nuclear program, there will be an immediate attack. Now, the fact is that the missile issue was not part of the nuclear deal. So somebody has moved the goalpost. Now, in case there is a war, the immediate impact will be on oil prices, and that will also affect India. Oil prices, there's a welcome downward trend. Oil prices have come down from more than $70 a barrel to around $60 a barrel in past 6 months. And if this trend is reversed, this will have an effect on the world economy, including India. And let's remember that $1 increase in oil, $1 per barrel increase in oil price translates into something like 14,000 crores increase in India's annual oil import bill. Now, the last part, and this is why I said we have to keep the regional context in mind. What are the charges against Iran? Allegedly, it's nuclear program, and now the additional thing, this is the missile program. And you look at its next door neighbor, Pakistan, and India has been a victim of terrorism, and Pakistan was awarded by giving it IMF assistance in the midst of Operation Sindoor of $1.4 billion. And you have to bear in mind that both Al-Qaeda and ISIS leaders had an organic link with Pakistan. Al-Qaeda leader Mullah Omar taught at Binori Mosque in Karachi. And Zarqawi, who was one of the figures who inspired ISIS, he learned his tricks of trade in Pakistan. So Pakistan is being rewarded and Iran is being punished. If the war actually takes place, there will be impact on the entire region and the world economy.
But do you think that things will come to such a pass? Because already you have President Pezeshkian saying that the government should apportion blame to itself as well, apart from, not just blame external factors. So there might be some course correction internally, and it's an open question as to whether Iran can really manage the situation by itself without, help in terms of, these revocation of these sanctions at least.
Well, the Iranian government has taken a reconciliatory position, which is very welcome, and they should also look at turn the torchlight inside. But this is not all what the Iranian government or President Pezeshkian have been saying, because they have also been talking about the Western countries going back on their commitment in the nuclear deal. There's a letter by Iran to the UN Security Council expressing their apprehension about again being subjected to an external war.
Right. Do you feel that Donald Trump could carry out his warning that if the protesters are harmed, that American troops or American forces in some manner will be used to rescue them? He's already stirring up things in Latin America, with Venezuela. Do you feel that another conflict is something that the people in the US will welcome?
Well, I won't like to make a comment on US foreign policy, but the fact remains that US has not committed ground troops in wars in the Middle East, even when its close allies like Saudi Arabia and UAE were targeted by drone attacks, missile attacks. Saudi Arabia in 2019 and 3 years later UAE, when Abu Dhabi base was, airport was bombed. So it's unlikely that they are going to commit ground troops to save Iranian protesters. But yes, the statements are likely to continue in order to keep the pot boiling.
Right. And in terms of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei himself, he's been around and weathered multiple storms, the war with Iraq, the Arab Spring, the protests after Mahsa Amini's death. Do you feel that he could come up with solutions to this issue as well, or do you feel that this time things might go out of hand?
If you have lost something like 70 to 80% of your government revenues, or a larger portion of your foreign exchange earnings, Iran is dependent on oil exports, and that has been throttled. I don't think there's any internal management which can reverse the situation. Whether the government will be able to, the question remains whether government will be able to meet the minimum requirements of the people. The people must have food to eat. And there are obviously internal issues. If whether the supreme leader, or for that matter, Iranian government, President Pezeshkian, can address those within very severe constraints, financial constraints, which I have mentioned, that remains to be seen.
All right. So, serious questions to be answered there for the regime in Tehran. Let's see if they can find any solutions, or the protests continue and they have their own consequences. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ambassador Srivastav. All right. Let's now move on and take a bit of a break. In fact, what's happening is that the Indian government has approved 22 new projects under the electronics components manufacturing scheme, involving over 41,800 crore rupees investment, boosting domestic supply chains, reducing imports and strengthening India's push to become a global electronics manufacturing hub.
In a major boost to India's electronics manufacturing system, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has approved 22 additional proposals under the Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme. These approvals come in continuation of 24 applications cleared earlier, together reinforcing India's push towards self-reliance in high-value electronics manufacturing. The newly approved projects involve a projected investment of over rupees 41,800 crore and are expected to generate production worth more than rupees 2.58 lakh crore, creating nearly 34,000 direct jobs.
It's very important for us that we set all the structural foundational blocks in place today itself, so that the growth path for the next 25 years and the 50 years beyond that can be properly met. There is no difference between the industry and the government. We are all working for the same purpose, nation building. And nation first, always first is our fundamental principle.
The approvals cover manufacturing across 11 critical target segments with wide-ranging applications in mobile phones, telecom, consumer electronics, automotive, strategic electronics, and IT hardware. These include 5 core components such as printed circuit boards, capacitors, connectors, enclosures, and lithium-ion cells. 3 key sub-assemblies include camera modules, display modules, and optical transceivers, and 3 vital supply chain items: aluminium extrusion, anode material, and laminates.
2026 is the year in which 4 units will start their commercial production. Keynes, Micron, CG Semi, and Tata plant in Assam. All these 4 units will start their commercial production in 2026. This will be a landmark year for our country.
The approved projects are spread across 8 states: Andhra Pradesh, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan.
Given that what's happening around the world, the geopolitical uncertainties, India is seen as that stable island amongst the disruptions that are happening across around us. Stability of policies, there's continuity, whatever the government thinks it's long term, and we, as the world is looking at de-risking from only banking on a particular or a one country kind of a process, India is turning out to be that other reliable partner.
These approvals are set to strengthen domestic supply chains, reduce import dependence on critical components, and accelerate India's journey toward becoming a global hub for electronics manufacturing in line with the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
The Western Indian state of Maharashtra has achieved a major milestone in the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project. The state's first mountain tunnel has successfully achieved breakthrough in Palghar district, marking the completion of excavation work for the tunnel. Here's a report.
The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project achieved a historic breakthrough in Palghar district of Maharashtra, marking a significant step forward in India's first high-speed rail corridor. Maharashtra's first mountain tunnel has successfully achieved its breakthrough in the rugged Sahyadri mountain range. The tunnel is nearly 1.48 kilometers long and is located between the under-construction Virar and Boisar bullet train stations. The tunnel has an overhead mountain cover of about 170 meters, making it one of the most challenging sections of the project. Excavation work was carried out simultaneously from both ends of the tunnel to speed up construction. After around 18 months of continuous work, engineers achieved the breakthrough, completing a crucial phase of tunneling.
Right now, I'm at the Palghar district, and you can see just behind me one of the important tunnel breakthrough. This is Maharashtra's first mountain tunnel, which has successfully achieved breakthrough for the bullet train project in Maharashtra, and one of the longest mountain tunnel for the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project here.
The tunnel has been constructed using the new Austrian tunneling method. It's an advanced technique that allows real-time monitoring of geological conditions. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train corridor includes 8 mountain tunnels. Out of these, 7 are located in Palghar district of Maharashtra, while 1 is in Gujarat's Valsad district. Construction work on the remaining tunnels is currently underway. Project authorities have stated that all safety norms are being strictly followed during the operations. The successful breakthrough in Palghar is expected to accelerate work on other sections of the bullet train project. India's Railway Minister Ashnavi Vaishnav believes that the bullet train project has introduced a new way of working, setting higher benchmarks for quality and technology in India's infrastructure sector.
भारत में ये टेक्नोलॉजी प्रॉपर जब अपने यहाँ एब्जॉर्ब हो गई, कंप्लीट इसका मोल्ड, इसको किस तरह से मशीनें, जो ये ऊपर ये आप देख रहे हो मशीन, ये मशीनें, इसको लिफ्ट करने वाली मशीनें, इसको मूव करने वाली मशीनें, ये सारी की सारी मशीनें भारत में डिज़ाइन हुई और भारत में ही बनी। टेक्नोलॉजी शुरू में समझने के लिए हमें बाहर जाना पड़ा, लेकिन उसके तुरंत बाद में सभी मशीनें, सभी डिज़ाइन भारत में हुई। और अब जापान की जो टीम है, उनका कहना है कि अगली बार जापान में जो प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे वो ये टेक्नोलॉजी अब जापान भी लेके जाएंगे।
He also added that the project reflects India's growing technological self-reliance, with complex machines and designs now being developed indigenously.
तो प्रधानमंत्री जी का हमेशा एक बड़ा इसमें गाइडेंस ये था कि हमें नए काम करने का नया तरीका इससे सीखना है और क्वालिटी और टेक्नोलॉजी का एक नया पैरामीटर सेट करना है, एक नया पैमाना सेट करना है। इस प्रोजेक्ट की ये बहुत बड़ा एक फैक्टर है।
India's first high-speed rail project aims to significantly reduce travel time between Mumbai and Ahmedabad and improve connectivity, economic growth, and infrastructure development in the region.
Going forward, we may see that the bullet train will soon see the day of light and will complete its project. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad people will definitely get a chance to ride the bullet train in a very short span time in near future. Shri Srila 40 Day India, Mumbai.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate exposition of sacred Piparwa relics titled The Light of the Lotus, Relics of the Awakened One on Saturday at New Delhi's Rai Pithoda Cultural Complex. The exposition aims to reaffirm India's commitment to heritage preservation and cultural leadership while celebrating India's spiritual legacy. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the exposition of sacred Piparwa relics on the 3rd of January 2026 at New Delhi's Rai Pithoda Cultural Complex, marking the reunification of Piparwa gem relics of Lord Buddha, repatriated after 127 years, with relics, gem relics, and reliquaries from 1898 and then 1971 to 75 excavations at the Piparwa site. The exposition, titled The Light and the Lotus, Relics of the Awakened One, will showcase relevant antiquities and works of art from several cultural institutions under the Ministry of Culture. Taking to X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called it as a very special day for those passionate about history, culture, and the ideals of Bhagwan Buddha. He said, and I quote him here, "Tomorrow, 3rd of January, is a very special day for those passionate about history, culture, and the ideals of Bhagwan Buddha. At 11 a.m., the Grand International Exposition of Sacred Piparwa relics related to Bhagwan Buddha, the Light and the Lotus, Relics of the Awakened One, will be inaugurated at Rai Pithoda Cultural Complex in Delhi. This exposition brings together the Piparwa relics repatriated after more than a century, authentic relics and archaeological materials from Piparwa that are preserved in the collections of the National Museum, New Delhi, and the Indian Museum, Kolkata. This exposition is in line with our commitment to further popularizing the noble thoughts of Bhagwan Buddha. It is also an effort to further deepen the bond between our youth and our rich culture. I would like to appreciate everyone who worked towards the repatriation of these relics. The exhibition will feature over 80 objects spanning the 6th century BCE to the present, including sculpture, manuscripts, and ritual objects.
It is showcasing India's commitment to the entire Buddhist world about India's role as preserver and as spreader of Lord Buddha's message. This is also after 127 years that Lord Buddha's relics, which were found in Kapilvastu, which is called Piparva in the modern times, will be united in one place and put up for exposition.
The exposition aims to reaffirm India's commitment to heritage, preservation, and cultural leadership, while celebrating India's spiritual legacy and its significance as the birthplace of Buddhism, reflecting India's enduring commitment to preserving and sharing its civilizational heritage with the world. Deepika Mehta's report for DD India.
India's Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan on Friday attended the 34th convocation ceremony of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute in Chennai as its chief guest. The Vice President addressed the gathering and congratulated the graduating students. V.P. Radhakrishnan expressed confidence that the graduates would contribute positively to society through professional competence, compassion and commitment. Referring to the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047 as articulated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Vice President said that achieving the goal requires the active participation of every citizen, particularly the youth, and called upon students to contribute meaningfully to nation building. And on some business updates, amid tensions between key members Saudi Arabia and the UAE over Yemen, OPEC Plus is likely to maintain steady oil output at its meeting on Sunday, according to sources. The meeting of 8 members of the OPEC Plus on Sunday comes after oil prices fell more than 18% in 2025. They agreed in November to pause output hikes for January, February and March. The 8 nations, Saudi Arabia, Russia, UAE, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Iraq, Algeria and Oman, raised oil output targets by around 2.9 million barrels per day from April to December 2025, equal to almost 3% of the world's oil demand. And global stock markets began 2026 on a positive note, with Wall Street opening higher as risk sentiment improved after a volatile end to 2025. In early New York trade, the S&P 500 rose 0.48% to 6,878, and the Nasdaq Composite as well as Dow Jones gained 1.03 and 1.09% respectively. The move followed a strong performance last year when the S&P 500 added 16.4% and the Nasdaq surged over 20%, driven largely by sustained enthusiasm for artificial intelligence stocks. European markets also advanced, with London's FTSE 100 briefly crossing the historic 10,000 point mark for the first time after rising more than 21% in 2025. Paris and Frankfurt traded modestly higher, while Hong Kong jumped 2.8% in its first session of the year. The dollar firmed against major currencies, oil prices edged lower, and analysts cautioned that earlier gains may not necessarily signal how markets will perform through 2026. India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, has said that bank credit to industry grew at a faster pace of 9.6% in November 2025 as against 8.3% in the same month of the preceding year. On a year-on-year basis, non-food bank credit grew by 11.4% as on the fortnight which ended the 28th of November 2025 compared to 10.6% during the corresponding fortnight of the previous year. According to the sectoral deployment of bank credit, November 2025, credit to micro and small and medium industries continued to exhibit double-digit expansion. And in sports, South Africa National Cricket Board on Friday announced the 15-member T20 squad for the T20 World Cup 2026 in India and Sri Lanka. Aidan Markram will lead the 15-member South Africa squad in the Proteas squad. Spearhead Kagiso Rabada has been cleared for a return to action. Rabada missed the recent white ball tour against India due to a rib injury, but his presence in the squad provides the necessary firepower and experience to lead the pace battery. Explosive top-order wicketkeeper batter Ryan Rickleton has been left out of the squad, while Jason Smith, who's played just 220 as, gets a call-up. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news that breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.